there, my name is Erica from the blog thesimplehomeplace.com, and today I want to share with you how to make bone broth in the Crockpot. Okay, so today we're going to go over how to make bone broth in the Crockpot. Now you can do it in the Crockpot, on the stove. Both methods are pretty much the same concept and it's super easy. For the longest time, I was very intimidated on making bone broth because I thought it was a super complicated process, but it's really not. So for us as a family, I like to roast whole chickens, and I usually do that about once a week, one chicken per week, and it usually will get about 3 meals or so out of that, depending on what I make and the size of the chicken. But with that, you are left with bones, and you could discard those if you wanted to. But if I have them, I want to utilize the entire animal the best way I can, and that would be to make bone broth. Now, bone broth is a super simple thing that you can make. It's really bones, some vegetable scraps, and water. That's all you need to make it. It is virtually free because if you are cutting vegetables and have vegetable scraps, and if you're cooking whole chickens, or even doing chicken thighs or drumsticks, anything that has bones, then you are left with that. So it's really a byproduct, I guess, of the foods you probably are already eating. And so making this is virtually free, and it is great to drink on its own. It has a lot of health benefits that way, and it is great to make soups, rice, other things that you might be using water for. Using bone broth can really enhance the flavor, and it is good for you. So I like to make it. I don't make it all the time, but what I do is I freeze all of my bones and the drippings and the skin and fat and whatever else I can get off of the bones. I will just put it in a freezer bag, store it in my freezer, and then it is good to go whenever I am ready to make bone broth. I do the same thing with my veggie scraps. So celery, the ends of celery, I will clean them, cut them off, save those. Onion skins, onion parts. You could do it with any vegetable, really. Carrots, so carrot skins if you're peeling carrots, or just whole carrots. I just save those, and once I have a full bag or I'm ready to make bone broth, then I just pull those out of the freezer and use those as well. So like I said, it is virtually free to make bone broth. It is very beneficial to your body. I do have a blog post about it, so I'll link that down below if you want to learn more about bone broth. But without further ado, let me show you how easy it is to make your own bone broth from scratch. Okay, so I just wanted to show you what it looks like when I have frozen everything. And so I have 2 bags right here that I think I'm gonna use today. Really, you probably need just one carcass, I guess. And I've got the skins, the bones, any of the drippings, you can see that kind of on the bottom. And I just have it in my freezer waiting for me for whenever I am ready to make bone broth. These came from chicken thighs. So again, the skin, the fat, the bones, and I am just going to dump both of these into my crock pot. So let's do that first. Okay, next are the vegetable scraps. So, like I said, I have a bag of vegetable scraps. I've got celery in here and onions mostly. That's usually all I use. Sometimes I have carrots. So this time I have a bag of carrots that I threw in the freezer. They were about to go bad and we were traveling, and so I just threw them in the freezer. We don't really love cooked carrots, so I might put these in soups, and I figured I would just put them in to my bone broth. So that's all I do. Again, it's virtually free. These are just scraps that would have gone in the garbage anyway, and so we're gonna put those in there as well, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so the last step is just to add some filtered water. And again, in my kitchen, I don't typically measure, so it's a little bit difficult. But like I said, I do have a blog post and I will link that so you can get exact measurements if you want to, or pretty close to exact. But I just fill my crock pot up until it is just above everything that is in there, so the bones and the vegetable scraps. and then I will just set it on low and let it go. You can let it go up to 24 hours if you would like to. You could do it for 6 hours, 12 hours. It's really a set it and forget it kind of thing. But I would say you want it on low for probably at least 6 to 8 hours. Longer is great. So it is pretty simple to do. Again, it is just bones, vegetable scraps, and water. Some people will put some apple cider vinegar in there because it supposedly helps to draw out more of the nutrients. So you can do that if you want. I don't do that part. I'm not against it. I just don't do it. You could put in some herbs, some dry herbs, some fresh herbs. I kind of like to just have my bone broth plain so that I can season it however I want to when I'm cooking with it, or if I'm drinking it. Usually it's just salt and pepper. Like if I'm putting it in a soup or something, I will add more herbs. But I like to just keep it plain so that it can be more versatile. But you can do whatever you want to, add whatever you want to in it, and I'm sure it will turn out perfectly fine. So I'm just gonna add the water, put the crock pot lid on, set it to low, and I'll see you when it's ready. All right, I just wanted to show you what this looks like about 6 hours later. It smells really, really good. It's just bubbling away. I will probably let it go. You can see, ooh, it's kind of hard to see on camera, but there's some fat that you can see, which is what helps give it the jiggly look. But I will probably wait another, I don't know, I usually go to bed around 10 or 11, and so I will strain that off then. And here it is about 12 hours after I started it. It is bubbling away, everything has softened, and it has now become bone broth. It is a beautiful color. You can see all of the fat in there, and that is what is going to give it a nice taste and what is going to be beneficial to you. So what I like to do first is just take out all the big chunks, or as many as I can, and then I'm going to strain it. And what I do is I take a colander over a big bowl and I line it with some coffee filters, and that will just take out some of the bigger particles, if you will, and I'll just ladle it first because it is really hot, and then I'll eventually pour it out once I feel comfortable handling it. But it is really hot at this point, so just make sure you're careful. And then I'm actually going to strain it again. You definitely don't have to, but I like a better consistency. But before I do that, I'm adding more water to those same bones, and I'm going to make even more bone broth, which is really awesome to get basically a double batch out of the same bones. But I'm just using my coffee maker here, and that is just going to make it so there's really no particles or anything in it, and it'll be a nice smooth consistency. Then once it cools down a little bit, I'm just going to store it in the fridge until I'm ready to use it. Okay, it is the next day. The bone broth has been sitting in the refrigerator, and I just wanted to give you a look at what it looks like. I will be using it tonight to make some chicken noodle soup, so I'm super excited for that. So I'm going to turn you around and have you take a look at that. All right, here is the final result. It is nice and jiggly, full of collagen, full of great health benefits. It is great to cook with. It is good on its own, and I hope you enjoyed this recipe and give it a shot. If you like this video, I would really appreciate it if you would hit that like button and subscribe to my channel so you can see more videos like this. Anyway, thanks so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.